guys are used to competition. You're used to high pressure, everything on the line, showing up even when you don't feel like it, pushing yourself. You know, we're trying to make it to where we talk a lot more about mental health, but there's still a lot of stigma. But I'm gonna walk through a few ways to deal with it, right? How to recognize it. Now you, as a student, as a collegiate athlete, are not responsible for making sure that the people around you are okay. But if you see stuff, if you notice things, right, it's good to have a plan of who to go to, right? How to talk about it. But what about when it gets a little bit more serious? What about if it's a yellow light? A different attitude, not eating, sleeping more, sleeping less, pushing yourself too hard, not pushing enough, getting irritable, angry, teammates. And those are the times that you need to maybe, reach out to somebody. Who would you reach out to if you were struggling, if you noticed this or somebody said something to you? Would you feel comfortable going to your coaches? What's the fear? What is the hesitancy people have about reaching out to somebody like me or a therapist or somebody like that? What's the fear? Afraid it's gonna follow you, afraid people are gonna find out. That's an understandable concern and fear. But when it starts hitting into some of these things, it's impacting your sleep, it's impacting your attitude, it's impacting, your performance, everything about you. It's time to reach out. We're gonna do more than just ask you how you feel. Therapy has changed. We now have very innovative treatments that don't require you to be in therapy for years and years. You can be in and out, and in one session, you've resolved whatever it was that you came there to talk about. And you gotta be mentally fit as well as physically fit.
I wanted to give y'all just something that y'all can take away from me in this deal called the transition formula. I had a chance to create this because when I came out of the University of Tennessee, I hurt my shoulder, and this NFL dream that I had was already cut short from me not playing as much as I thought I was gonna play and things not going my way to also hurt my shoulder. And then to that point, it was not gonna really go my way at all. So now I'm in a position where, okay, I gotta figure this thing out. And at that point in time, that's when I had to do a self-assessment and check myself and ask myself, what made me elite in sports? How did I get to where I got in sports? And at that point, I realized it was really just the grind. It was the mindset that I took. So it was a couple things that I had learned in football that I never would have thought would pay me, that literally we did every single day, that when I applied it over here to sales, it started paying me money. That formula, I call it the transition formula. I ended up writing a book about it. Everything that I had been doing in practice, it was preparing me for my life outside of sports, but I never thought about it. Everything I had been doing every single day in film study, it was preparing me to take those same skills, those same lessons, and use it somewhere in my life outside of sports, but nobody ever told it to me. Nobody ever broke it down. Nobody ever gave me the game like that. But I want to give you this formula that you can take and apply right now every single day for the rest of your life, whether you're an incoming freshman or you're outgoing senior or whether you're somewhere in between. So that formula is pretty simple. It's T plus C plus C equals ST. So it's pretty simple. The T stands for takeaway. I believe everything you're going through or growing through in life, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, is something that you can take away from it. And once you figure out what you can take away from it, the next question you got to ask yourself is to see, how do you correlate it? How do you correlate it to where you are right now in your life, in all your situations, all your circumstances? How do you correlate that good, that bad, that ugly that you already done been through right now that's going to help you get an unfair advantage, that's going to help you get ahead, that's going to help you win, that's going to help you beat the next person? That good, that bad, that ugly thing that did happen in your past, it might not necessarily be for you though. It could be for somebody else to learn from it too. So don't just always think about yourself. The next C, T plus C plus C, carryover. How do you carry it over? That was the biggest thing, because you could be at practice and you can learn a move, but if you can't carry over to the game, it don't matter if you know that move or not, because you can't do it in the game. Some of y'all in the transition right now. Some of y'all may be here next year, you may not be. Whether that's grade related, whether it's financial aid related, whether that's team related, whatever that looks like, you may be in transition right now. Everything ain't always good. But we do know this, as an athlete, you have an unfair advantage versus the everyday person in the workplace versus the everyday person who ain't never been on this level, played this game, or pushed themselves harder than push yourself.
I was a collegiate athlete. I didn't listen to any of this. I didn't believe in mental health. I just did what I did, right? I wanted to win. I knew the game. I liked the game. I enjoyed the game. I like competition. And you guys are each like that. Athletes, we can push through even though we don't feel good. And physically, we go with injuries, we go with all this other stuff, and we keep going because it's the goal to win the game. Mental health is the same thing as physical health. They've actually proven now that we can build the structures in our brain. Does everybody have a slump or everybody feel in a fog sometimes when they're tired? Yeah, because you guys have a lot on your plate. You're in school, you're in sports. Like Coach McCoy is saying, you're away from your families. You got a lot of these different things, and one thing is regulation, okay? So if we're going, if you all are doing 2 days, 3 days, whatever you do, you've got to recover physically. Same thing with mental health. You got to recover. They've proven your brain duplicates what it knows, but then you can also increase the structure of your brain. Like the strength of your brain, you can increase it. So if you have this looping thought that comes up all the time, like, I'm not gonna be the best player, I'm not gonna do good on this test, I'm not gonna do this, kind of thing, all this self-doubt stuff, you can learn to break that loop. The more you let your brain loop, the worse it gets. If you do have anxiety, if you do have depression, you can go back to when it first started, timeline of events, you can actually see when it started. And if you're not effectively addressing it, it's worse now, 10 years later, than it was when it started 10 years ago. But if you learn to break the cycle of it, your brain actually heals. So they've proven that your brain can heal itself. If I stop functioning because I'm so overwhelmed, then something's wrong. So you need a mental health playbook. So that's what we want to work on at Revitalist with student athletes, because it's not out there right now. Keep your ears out, for people around you, because we're just now learning about mental health, and this is unfortunate. As athletes, we may not look like we need help with our mental health when really we do. Because like I said, each of you are elite. When we come down to the normal categories of life, that's sometimes when we're just not doing well, just because we're such high performers kind of thing. So the advice that I would give with each of you is, if something doesn't feel right, if you can't make decisions, reach out to a friend. Reach out to Coach McCoy.